Hello everybody, it's the 15th of August today and I'm doing some work on my Cascade Cotoneasters, and I thought I'd do a quick catch up with this one. If you've been a viewer of my channel for a while, you may remember this had a very nice cascading trunk which I attempted to wire into a more pleasing position and snapped the entire thing off at this point. And so I am slowly rebuilding a new cascading trunk. So let's move in a little closer. Basically I'm happy with the growth of these pads at the top of the tree and this trying to keep it in a kind of equilibrium, and so I'm just going to give this a quick trim. Literally almost a haircut. Okay, so yeah, must brought my pads back into an alignment more or less that I'm happy with. The trunk is slowly growing downwards. It's taking its own sweet time. This branch I'm just going to shorten slightly, and I'm in two minds as to whether to wire it down or not. I think I ought to while it's thin enough to do so easily. So just a small piece of wire, trying not to catch any leaves or branches, and just wire it very loosely, and voila. The rest of this I'm just going to let grow for the rest of this season. I will probably then prune it maybe around here for next spring and get the trunk moving in a different direction so that I get a bit of flow as I had before. That's the plan. But anyway, that's not really what this video is about. Oh, just to say, I do have a lot of berries. I had a lot of flower and I have a lot of berries. Some of the books would tell you should remove all the berries to allow the tree to put all its growth into the trunk. But I have a lot of birds and wildlife in the garden that are welcome to a few berries, so I'm going to leave them in place. Okay, so if you check back in the description below, you'll find a link to my playlist of Cascade Cotoneasters, and in it you'll find that back in March of this year, I believe it was, I put a couple of little Cascade Cotoneasters that I had and put them into some nice bonsai pots that I had for Christmas last year, and I'll just take this bit of wire off because it's in danger of cutting in. And you will see they were quite tiny little things that were grown in a 9cm pot, and that they've now done a fair amount of growing. And so I feel this time I gave them their first trim and encouraged them to begin to form some branching. We've got a nice little reasonable trunk. I shall reuse this wire as always. Getting there. Okay, so where to start? Well, let's start with this big piece here, which I'm going to take back not quite all the way. I may want to use it as a branch, I may not. If I chop it off, I can't. This piece that's going back into the center can come off. quite like that as the beginning of a branch, and I quite like that as the beginning of a branch. This piece can come off. And this piece at the back I think I'm just going to leave as a kind of sacrifice branch. That piece that's growing upward, that's too vigorous. That's too vigorous. Oh, we've got the beginnings of a little branch pad just here. So that's good. Shorten that. Shorten that. This piece now I've decided I don't want. That piece is a possibly maybe, so I'm going to leave a short piece there that can then grow out. And then where do we start here? Okay, this is on the outside of a bend, this is on the inside of a bend, so that piece will go. This piece is nice but too short, too straight, so I'm just gonna chop it there, and then I'm going to shorten all these little pieces of extension growth, like so. And in fact I think I'm going to stop it just there, so that I've got a piece that's, this piece was going back up, this piece is going down, so I'm going to snip it there, and there we have it. Or do we? Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. So we'll just give you a quick 360 of that. Trim that piece off. Yeah, let's pop the can in for scale. As you can see, this tree's on its way. Could have done worse in one season. It's firmed up really nicely in the pot, so I no longer need this loop of wire that was holding it in place, like a sort of staple. That can come out. Yeah, that means this tree's filled this pot with root, or at least mostly filled it with root. That'll mean it'll get away to a good start next spring too. Okay, so let's look at the second one. Okay, this one, which was in a smaller spot, a smaller pot, put the can in again for scale, has grown even better. Again, it was a bit loose in the pot when it went in, but it's firmed up really nicely, and it's put on so much growth with these side branches and things that it's actually hard to see where the trunk bit is. So I'm going to have to be a bit careful. Start at the top. I've got a very straight trunk coming out of this one, which is a little bit boring, but I'm thinking trim that. Can I make it a bit more interesting without any wire? I could take the top out, and that gives the trunk a bit of a curve in this direction, and then we'll see what branching we get. There's no point in rushing everything at once. These trees are growing very vigorously, so they will give me some future options, I'm sure. Very little at the back here, but that's okay, because all the action is out front. So let's look at what we got. We've got a branch coming straight off the trunk here that's going straight up and back, so we'll get rid of that. and we got some where the trunk curves. The trunk comes up and curves and round to this point. So I've got branches growing on the inside of the curve. We'll get rid of them, and we'll remove that lower branch on there on that branch. And that branch. Okay, so that gives you a better view there of that trunk. Let's move you in a little bit closer. Yeah, so now we have this nice curve here. I don't want this branch that's done its job of helping feed the roots, fatten up the trunk a little and get the tree off to a good start, but we're going to remove that now. We have an interesting branch coming off the side of this curve here and off the side here. So I'm going to leave both of those to begin perhaps growing some pads, whether I'll keep both of them. That's another decision for another day. Okay, so I've got a branch coming off here, which could start to form a little pad in this direction. I think all of this stuff that's gone out of the trunk and dead straight and then shot off in 3 different directions, I'm just going to shorten. Similarly, now well, can you see what's going on? Let's move the camera slightly. This piece is going straight up. Now I think the original trunk went down here and down there, and then this has now come off and done this, which I think is more interesting. Lose this piece a moment. Similarly, this is split into 3 pieces going in 3 different directions, but I'm just going to shorten the whole branch back, and that begins to enable me to see where I've got a trunk and where I haven't. Well, I think I'm going to keep the original trunk line, which means this can be a branch. If I shorten it back to there, it's going straight down on the back of the trunk, and this is going straight out. I'm keeping a lot of branches that probably won't end up as part of the design in the end. And why am I doing that, you might ask yourself? Well, options. I always keep a few options open. If I remove them, I can't stick them back on. So let's not remove them now. I'm going to. I think I want the tree to come down more. So I'm going to take this length of wire that I removed from the other tree, and I'm just going to wrap it round like so. I have to move the whole thing a little further forward. I don't want to do this off camera, I want to do this on camera. Turn that again. Okay, that's better. That's just very loose, but it just holds that tree down a little. And then lastly, I'm just going to trim that. Where do I want to trim that? I want the tree to come back this way, so I'm going to trim that there because I don't want this dead straight piece. Now the tree can shoot in that direction, and hopefully over the next few years it will start to develop into a nice cascade tree. So pop the cam back in for scale, give you another 360, and then we'll pop this back on the bench and we'll call it a day. I will obviously put a link to my Cotoneaster Cascades playlist in the description and in the end screen, and I'll try and put in a link to the actual video where I actually put these trees into these pots back in March. So all that remains to do is to say thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Do all the usual YouTube things, the liking, the subscribing, comment below, let me know what you think. But most of all, please, 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 stay safe everybody.